Star Wars animated characters making the jump to live action. There's probably more to come, and we're going to speculate on who that might be in just a little bit. Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thanks so much for joining us today. Happy Monday. It's July 12th. Unbelievable. We're already in the heart of summer here. Things are heating up, and things are heating up a little bit in the Star Wars news realm. James and Lacey with me as always. So yeah, I just want to open things up real quick. You know, James obviously been really doing our coverage of the Bad Batch every Friday, waking up early. So thank you to James for doing that on behalf of us and obviously all of our fans and viewers, checking that show out. So if you haven't yet, the Bad Batch reaction show, James just did the most recent one this past Friday. Did it all in one take. The guy is good. That's all we're gonna say there. But
don't check my Twitter.
I'll let him peel back as much as he wants to on that. But we're just gonna touch lightly on Bad Batch real quick, just because I like speculating. I think we all like speculating. Obviously, the big thing was that Hera Syndulla of Rebels fame made an appearance in the recent episode. Now, this season has been littered with, you know, certain people popping up, cameos, Fennec Shand, all that sort of thing. And now we have someone from Rebels making the jump over to Bad Batch. And I just want to throw this out there to both of you, being that this show sandwiches, this show and Rebels sandwich the timeline of Andor, in a sense, in terms of where Rebels ends and where this takes place. We saw Ahsoka make the jump to the first Star Wars live action show. Is it possible that we're going to finally see, we had almost close to it in Rogue One, that we heard her name, a report here, we saw a chopper, blah, blah, blah. Is it possible we can see in this long series Andor, Hera Syndulla making her live action debut?
Go ahead, James.
I do think it's possible, you know, and it's funny too that I watched the episode and, you know, that never occurred to me. It didn't seem like they were setting up. I'll talk all day about like Omega being in Book of Boba Fett or something. It's weird. Not until I saw your premise for this episode or whatever that I was like, oh yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. And it would be a good idea to kind of like reseed her a little bit. And it's like, hey, if you haven't, maybe you didn't watch Rebels, maybe you came into Star Wars a little bit later. This is a character, and you're going to see a lot of people talk about it, but you might want to pay attention to this character. We're going to show you a little highlight here. The weird thing too is that when I watched the episode, I was less taken aback by Hera being in it, and more so her mom. I was actually more like, oh, that's her mom. And then like I was pulled in like, but we know her mom's not going to be there. And I was involved in the story because I know Hera's story to some degree, but I was like, I'm really interested in what's going to happen between this in this family, you know? So I don't know. I was really surprised we finally got to see her mom in person. And, but I can honestly say I'm sitting there and I'm watching, like Chopper pops up and I'm like, what is happening? Hold on. It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, what is happening right now? What show am I watching? What year is it?
That's the thing, man. It's you know, it's speculation really based on nothing, because we don't know what Andor is going to really involve aside from what we've heard. So there hasn't been any hints that Hera's going to be there. We do know that she becomes a general with the rebellion and that sort of thing, so it would make a little bit of sense. And clearly, in my opinion, I don't think it would be Vanessa Marshall taking over the role, so it'd be a little bit of an Ashley Eckstein situation where they'd get a new actor to come in and play the role. But I don't know. I mean, there's no evidence or anything based, so it's fun speculation. Lacey, what do you think? Do you think because we saw Ahsoka pop in Mandalorian, is there a chance we're going to see Hera finally make the jump too?
I think so. She was mentioned in Rogue One, which Cassian, it's his movie. And Dave seems to like to throw his characters in every single project now. So it's like they're in everything, especially her. I feel like she's been in so much stuff lately.
Yeah.
Especially in this kind of time. So, yeah. I think it's an easy bet that if you went on Twitter and were like, I bet Hera's going to show up, and she showed up, you couldn't be like, right. See him right. It's like kind of obvious. Like, yeah, it makes sense.
It's crazy because like in a lot of ways that used to be Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka was like the absolute biggest Star Wars character that was not in a live action thing. And now that she has come to live action, I'm not saying it is Hera, but I'm saying Hera's there to a point of like, she's been in Clone Wars, she's been in Alphabet Squadron, she's been in Squadrons, the game.
That
you know what I mean?
And Thrawn are like
Ezra.
three.
I was gonna say Ezra.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
But Ezra only showed up in one thing. That's why I'm saying. But like Hera's seated all over the place. That's why I'm leaning in that direction.
And Andor's a long series. Like I think were they saying something like 12 episodes? Was that what I heard? I don't know. And there's going to be multiple seasons as far as we understand it. So there's a lot more room for her to pop up in an episode. Sorry. So yeah, it does like you say, Lacey, like it's not one of those things you're like, oh my God, I can't believe what a prediction.
It just seems like a common sense type thing that if she showed up, I'd be like, well, they mentioned her by name in Rogue One. So
yeah. It just seems to be like because for years I had said, if they haven't done it yet, they're never going to, I'm going to always side on that they're not going to do something. So I always said we're never going to see a live action Ahsoka Tano. And now that all that stuff's been blown, that door's been opened, now it's free for all. You know what I'm saying? So I would not shock me if, chapter 7 of Andor rolls around and he has to go talk to somebody and it winds up being Hera Syndulla, or she flies in and we see the ghost, or who knows what. That'd be really cool. So it'll be interesting to see. People are going to go scouring those old location shoots to see if they see any kind of ship that looks like the ghost now. They're going to go back and try to look, but I don't know. So I guess the three of us are saying it's possible. So let us know what you think out there. Hera Syndulla maybe popping in live action Andor. I think it'd be kind of cool. We'll see. Do you guys think? You guys don't think it would be Vanessa Marshall, right? Are we all on that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think people would be, for whatever reason, I don't know that people would be as upset about that as they were, the people who were, about Ashley Eckstein. One, because now it's been established now that they've done it. That was like the first one, the pain, the rip off the Band-Aid. And I feel like though Ashley Eckstein and Ahsoka have a way longer history with fans than Vanessa did as Hera. Not to diminish that. So I think people would be okay now that they're used to they've done that. So hopefully
I don't know that this really factors in too, but there's also, and I don't know that there was really at the time, but there are official, like for Squadrons and Battlefront and stuff, there are official models of Hera that look very real. And it obviously just does not look at all like Vanessa Marshall,
right. Right.
So I think like they'd probably go for that look,
Right. All right. So now that we warmed up the engines, it's time to get into our main news stories and give our takes on those. So James, what do we got going on this week?
It's the Resistance.
Guys, we got a lot of good stories going on this week, actually, and we're going to kick it off talking about a little bit about Rogue Squadron, right? Because the headline here is Patty Jenkins is free to tell the story she wants to with Rogue Squadron. This is we talked a little bit about this on the live show Friday with Eric Whiteley, and it's just that there was a little bit of discussion of where she's going to do this movie. And we talked a little bit about how if she does it after 9, she has complete and open freedom. And part of that comes from this article that actually dropped before we did that episode. But she discusses a few things about how it's an entirely different way of working because she's having to kind of run her story by all the collective things that have already happened. True, but she alludes to this like open freedom that she has because it's just like the next Star Wars story. So as fans, we start to wonder, what does that mean? We look into it. So I'm actually going to start this story. I'm going to start with you, Lacey, on this one. What were your thoughts on Patty Jenkins and her Hollywood Reporter interview, at least the Star Wars portion of it?
Yeah, I think Patty, I'm just so excited for this project. I think from the moment she made that video, which she didn't have to make, like she went above and beyond to be like, hey, I'm making a Star Wars and this is how excited I am. And this is my personal connection to it. And I think every subsequent interview after that, she's just given little tidbits here and there of how invested she is in this project and how much it means to her. And as you know, here at TRB, we're always about people that care a lot and have a lot of passion and love for Star Wars. Like, we're on board with you. The thing that stuck out to me is that she said that, quote, "We're finishing a script, crewing up, and it's going wonderful. I'm so excited about the story and excited about that we're in the next chapter of Star Wars, which is such a responsibility and it's such an opportunity to really start some new things. It's really exciting in that way." To me, that says after 9. And I know that there's been talk about the types of ships that they use and the logo and all this other stuff. But to me, for her to say it's the next chapter, I'm taking responsibility for things. There's so much new stuff coming. It's really exciting. That to me means new territory, and new territory would be after Rise of Skywalker. So it's not connected to anything in the sense of in between things or falls in between certain projects. And I love that, because I think going into Disney Star Wars, and I've said this a couple times, but when they bought Lucasfilm, one of the things I was pumped about is like, what new stuff are we getting? What stuff are we getting that has no connection to anything? Like, what's going to happen? And so far, admittedly, a lot of stuff has connected to things. It's been the interweb, spider web, like Marvel model where everything somehow connects at the end to this other thing, which makes sense. I get it. But part of me really just wanted to jump on the Millennium Falcon and go middle of nowhere. Like, let's go somewhere and see where it takes us. So I'm super pumped to see where she goes with this, and to hear her talk about the writing process of working with Lucasfilm and kind of just bouncing ideas off of them and being on phone calls with them all day and Zoom calls. She's invested. She's working on this nonstop, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with.
And she said even at that point, she was already like 6 months into it.
Right. And that's the thing, is that so they're still working on a script and crew, and they're 6 months in. Like, they're taking their time with this project, and I love it. Take all the time. Got it. Love it.
I don't even know if it's that. She said she was 6 months in when they did that video.
Before she announced it, yes. So now
they're
it's been
getting
a year
crew
and
finishing the script now.
It's been a year.
Yeah, it's been about a year. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really awesome. You know, it's funny too, is I love that video that she did, but in a way, I almost wish I wouldn't have known that it was like at Celebration or coming out of Celebration or something. It wasn't at Celebration, but I knew that it was in response to Celebration. I almost wish it would have been like, dude, watch this video Patty Jenkins just put out. You know what I mean? Because I just would have watched the whole thing thinking like, oh, maybe it's like a Top Gun thing. I don't know what's going on here. And then when she, finishes and does the whole video, like the X-Wing thing, I think it would have hit differently than the way that it was like, Patty Jenkins announces she's doing a Star Wars project. Here's the video, and it's like, oh.
Can we just remember that she's like rollerblading in the beginning of that whole thing? Like, that just came to my mind. I totally forgot about that part. Like, she's like speed skating in the beginning of that. Oh my God, nuts.
Yeah.
Hey, John, what did you think of all the stuff that she had to say about this next chapter?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that really stand out to me. The first being that I think this all but confirms that that video was absolutely intended for Star Wars Celebration 2020. And I think it was supposed to be a surprise reveal. Like, this is the next project we're working on, and they probably would have brought her out after they showed the video and the whole thing, because it's a very, made for big screen reveal, slow reveal, get the crowd simmering type of thing. So we talked about that when we first saw it. I remember when we reacted to it, we're like, this was supposed to be a Celebration. So I think this confirms it, because she's saying 6 months. That puts her starting work on the job at like June 2020. And then Celebration is, in late August. So where it was supposed to be. The other thing is just how personal this story is going to be for her. Her dad was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. I think that is something that is very personal for her. And, while this is this fantastical story, these are the fighter pilots of Star Wars, Rogue Squadron and the X-Wing fighters. And the X-Wings do resemble fighter jets more than any other Star Wars ship does. And I think that's the allure for a lot of fans to the X-Wing, is that, it may not be the most practical or the best or sleekest ship, but it's something that reminds people of the old war fighter plane movies, and, that sort of element that ties to our history and military history and the Air Force and that sort of thing. And the fact that it's like a personal story for her. She's able to really put her heart and soul into that. She touches on that in that video. So I love that aspect of it. And then again, her working with Matthew Robinson, she's obviously, the articles that she's able to tell the story she wants to tell. She's got her writer, and they're going to be collaborating, of course. But that element of how anytime someone comes on Star Wars, they say, well, it's a different animal. And it really is that reminder that, Star Wars canon is way beyond any other type of franchise canon, so to speak. And I know sometimes we hate tossing the word canon around because it's just, it carries stigma to it. Because you have people who don't necessarily, maybe they don't like new canon, or they're just too obsessed with the canon stuff. And maybe we need to just let go a little bit of how tight we clutch it. But at the same time, she's saying she's able to tell the story she wants while working within the confines of what is existing and what's to come. And that part I found very interesting because Patty Jenkins knows other future stories of Star Wars now because she has to, because the story she's telling has to make sense. And that part of her story makes me agree with Lacey in saying this is after episode 9, because she alludes to the fact that, other stories that happen in the future, you don't necessarily need to know that if it's something that happened already within a period of time we've explored after the fact. So I think we are moving forward literally in terms of the timeline, and I would be more interested in this being a post episode 9 thing than it be a between episode 6 and Force Awakens, because we know what happens in that era. Whereas if it's after episode 9, who are the bad guys? Who are they fighting? Why is this setting up the next Rey trilogy too, in terms of who the antagonists are? Are the Rogue Squadron going to be a part of that whole Avengers thing that we've been cooking up here at TRB, that's going to have Rey with Ezra and Grogu, and then as the Rogue Squadron going to be a part of that? That could be really exciting. So my heart wants it to be stuff that happens after episode 9, but I'm loving everything she's saying. Again, and you've heard me, I didn't really like Wonder Woman 84. Some of the parts about it that I didn't like were the special effects, a very dated late 1990s follow the bullet type of thing. But I think with ILM and who she's going to be working with, they'll be able to reel that in and give it the Star Wars touch. And I think with all of them working together, I think it's going to be a good project. So I like what she had to say. I'm eager to find out more about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in this. I think even more so than this article that she did, or this interview, and reading what she had to say, oddly enough, and I'm kind of going to go off here on a second, but I was watching a chain of YouTube videos, and I came across Smarter Every Day, and he was in the Thunderbirds, he was piloting him and explaining the science behind him and stuff, and it was 20 minutes, and I was just for whatever reason, I was completely pulled into this. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I obviously know what it's kind of like, and it's very difficult to be the thing. The way he was describing it and the science he was putting behind it is, and explaining there is so much more that this piece of machine can do, but the only reason they can do what they can do is the limitation of the human. The human inside has to be basically superhuman to stand 9 Gs or whatever to do what they're doing. And I was so pulled into this, and I was they were talking to these people who regularly do this, and I was like, these guys are heroes. These guys are absolutely incredible people, and you would never know it. And then just so happens the Thunderbird. Yeah, no, I know, yeah. And then the Thunderbirds are here this weekend, and I was like, I feel like we have to go see them. It's this air show. And then all of that combined, this gets brought back up, and I'm seeing it now with this new eye where I was like, yeah, whatever, X-Wing pilots, and I love that stuff, but now I'm seeing it with the fighter, pilot eyes, and I'm way more interested in it now, that these guys are really pushing the limits of their vehicles, their ships, and fighting these enemies, and stuff. It made me excited for Maverick too, but I don't know, obviously she's heading in with this angle. And I just to throw it out there too, because again, I talked about this a little bit on Friday, but I do think that there's still a chance that it's going to be after 6, and I think that comes from maybe, because you haven't, maybe you guys, if you had read the Alphabet Squadron and stuff, you're these are entirely different characters and stories, and I'm so pulled in by what's going on here, to hear that it just could take place in that time frame does not mean it's Star Wars without Han and Luke and Leia, like it's somehow missing that. It's still very much like a really awesome Star Wars story, or can be. So no matter the time frame that it takes place in, I still think I'm going to be exactly as invested as I would. I don't think I have a draw to either timeline, which I think that maybe means I go, well, I'll say 6, whatever. After 6, that's fine. But yeah, after 9, that would be cool too. There's a lot. Obviously we're all very excited about this, but I think we can probably say about as much as we can with that based on her like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk a little bit about the Book of Boba Fett, because they are going to be bringing in some familiar faces to direct certain episodes. And this again comes from Tamara Morrison. He has been talking and talking and talking. Ooh. And sometimes I worry about the guy's job a little bit, because I'm like, dude, someone is going to get angry at you. But he was sitting down, he did this interview, and he said, Favreau's directing, Filoni's directing, Bryce Dallas Howard's directing. He said Robert Rodriguez, which we actually knew that, although he was the one that previously confirmed he's the showrunner on it. So that was interesting. But looks like a lot of these people are coming back. That's not too surprising, but I wanted to talk to you guys about it. John, what do you think about these particular names being dropped as directors for the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, yeah, it's cool because we know that how collaborative everyone was on The Mandalorian, having watched the gallery, and how Favreau worked with all the directors, and he was very hands-on. He wasn't a distant showrunner. Now it's, you got to wonder, like, is Rodriguez going to handle that in a similar way with the similar cast of characters directing? You have him directing multiple episodes, which was confirmed in addition to Ming-Na Wen confirming him as the showrunner. But I love Favreau. Like, I think Chapter 9 is still my favorite directed episode of The Mandalorian to date. It's just very cinematic in scale and just execution. Just the Krayt Dragon itself was just monumental, and that's such a big moment. And that could have went way wrong, but he nailed it, of course, because he's Favreau. And Filoni back, of course. Bryce Dallas Howard was the surprise for me. I've been holding out hope, and I still am, that maybe she gets, the solo series and kind of do the Howard to Howard, tribute / handoff thing. I think that'd be wonderful. But her still being in the mix is a positive thing to me. She didn't just do her time with Mando and say, all right, thanks, Star Wars, I'm going to pop over and do this stuff now. She's still in the family, and she's still right in that tight-knit group. So that's a good sign for me for that dream project. It really comes down to, is this going to look and have the same feel of Mandalorian? Is that their purpose? Because there was that whole thing where, I forget who said it, but they said we're basically doing Mandalorian season 2.5 here, and maybe that's why they wanted to bring in a lot of the familiar directors, is because they want to keep the aesthetic so that you can watch it as the 2.5 and have that seamless viewing palette. So I love it. And I like what Robert Rodriguez did with his Mandalorian episode. He's kind of a cowboy in how he makes his stuff. He's very old school, kind of backyard style, and maybe that's what Boba Fett needs to differentiate it. So there'll be that level of familiarity with the names and the faces and how this thing's shot, but also that kind of that raw and cut style that Rodriguez likes to do to kind of give it its own flavor. The one thing that I'm very curious about is who's doing the music for this, because I don't think it's going to be Ludwig. I think they're going to keep that as the Mando thing. I'm very curious who he brings in, whether it's like he does like old Western style guitar stuff, maybe he does stuff himself. Like, I'm very curious what they're going to do, because that's the one thing we haven't heard anything about the Book of Boba Fett, is the music. And as we know, music's a big part of Star Wars.
I wonder if that person's... Oh, they probably are. I was going to say, I wonder if that person's even hired at this point. They might come in like after the fact and kind of make it their own thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's late. Look at Giacchino with Rogue One. Like, they may not have a composer yet. Who knows?
Yeah. Lacey, confirmed directors from Tamara Morrison. What are you thinking?
My first thought was similar to yours, James, where I was like, how does this guy still have a job? Talking hanging out in hot tubs, like
Play all the clones. You can't
giving
find
all
me.
the details.
I love the meme of the hot tub and how he's showing, like, people are cutting him out of stuff and putting him everywhere. Yeah. It's so funny.
I mean, the director's thing isn't surprising to me. Neither is the Robert Rodriguez stuff. Like, that again is very like straightforward. Like, if someone like lets it out that these people directed, I was like, yes, of course they have, because they've already worked with Favreau, they've already worked with Filoni, they've already worked with The Mandalorian, which is basically the flagship Star Wars show right now, you know? So it totally makes sense. I am surprised Bryce is in there, just because I didn't picture her doing this project, because I felt like The Mandalorian was her branch to doing something else, like a different series or something like that. I wonder if she's going to get a more emotional episode, because she has done those more emotional episodes for The Mandalorian, like Sanctuary and with the Bo-Katan stuff. So I'm interested to see which one she does, because what we've heard so far is that this series is very gritty and like dark and like violent. So I'm interested to see what she does. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most hearing from Tem was talking about how we got to keep the fans happy. I love that he talked about that. I love that he said it. I love that, as always, Lucasfilm, despite what people think, is always thinking fans first and always thinking about what people will enjoy within Star Wars and the Star Wars universe. But I really like that. And I'm excited to see what this series is all about, because before that episode with Boba Fett, I would have never picked Robert Rodriguez to do anything with Star Wars, but now I'm on board.
It's interesting to me, because these are the obvious choices in a weird way, like, because these are all the choices that moved over from season 1 to season 2. You know, when we got into season 2, you got, like, Robert Rodriguez was a surprise. We're like, oh, that's an interesting, you know, addition. Right. And so far, like, but the ones that carried over were Bryce Dallas Howard, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Those were all like the obvious choices. And right now, it almost seems like he seeded those names because those are the ones that he has kind of is like, it's cool if you talk about those. Don't talk about...
Those are the names he remembers? He's like,
well, yeah, that could be too. But it's like, don't talk about Steven Spielberg being one of the directors, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like people know these names. People aren't going to be surprised by these names. So if you do want to talk about the directors or whatever, mention the names that isn't going to surprise anybody, because all of these are returning directors. So it's interesting to me that it could be that this is just the directors. Maybe they all get more episodes. Like maybe they all get 2 or 3 episodes this time around. But I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that this is the story before the story, and the real story is going to be that these directors are new to the Book of Boba Fett, and that one will come, at some point. I don't know. I don't know. What
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I do like that he's very candid, and I don't know if that's just. If they're just saying like, yeah, just go out and you could say this, you could say that, and pretend like you're not supposed to, so the fans eat it up, and it's working clearly. But again, we've talked about this. Like, I've said it over and over. Like, they got to change the way of it's just too secret. There's too much secrecy. Marvel, look at Marvel's putting out all this stuff. Everyone's talking about Marvel. I mean, come on, just give us a little info. That's all. And he's doing it. So good for him.
I just like how he talks, like all his quotes here are like one sentence, like, and every one of them is like a new analogy or something like that. Like this one thing, he's like, I think they just have to consider some things. The tree's still growing, like I can picture him saying it. It's like, I'm not even entirely sure what you mean by the tree's still growing. I think you're just meaning like, who knows, or whatever. Yeah. Time moves on. Ideas are always out there. They probably want to test the waters first. That's funny. But no, there was something in here too that I thought was hilarious, because he goes, John Favreau's come up with some magical formulas, which is something we've seen before. We've got some great directors on board, and then he lists all these people, which we've seen before. And then he also says they got to keep things under Star Wars stuff under lock and key, obviously. And then he also says it's just a whole new world. I'm like, it's not a whole new world. All those things.
You're like, wait a minute, he's saying
things
nothing.
that exactly we already knew. All those things. but I think what he's trying to say is it's a whole. Boba Fett is a whole new world, so we got to keep it under lock and key, But we're excited, yeah. I just thought it was funny as we're reading it. I was like, it's not a whole new world. I know all those things.
And he did say that that aspect of that one comment, like the whole like we got to keep an eye on the timeline, and
yeah,
like it just feels like that flashback thing. People are it's making people very curious about how deep they're going to go with that, and what that's going to be.
To me, it's
level
very
of
real.
Presence that's going to be in the show.
To me, it's very real.
How are we talking? Like it's going to be one episode where they flash back? Is it going to be Godfather 2 where they keep going back and forth, which I hate? I'm very curious what they do there, because Mandalorian had flashbacks too. Well, him as a little kid. And then, it builds to him being rescued at the end. But I don't know. It's that part's also curious.
I think most people agree with you on Godfather 2. Now, Godfather 3, that's a good movie.
Dad.
All right, guys. Hey, we got one other thing talking about all new, right? And this has been, we did the live show on Friday. This news was already out there. We wanted to talk about it, but we have to hold off for our Monday episode because it's our news episode. Hey guys, Star Wars Visions is coming. We finally got our first look at it. I'm not only excited for this show, but also excited for Lacey and all of her coverage when the show actually does drop.
I wonder if it's weekly or they're going to do this all at once. Because if it's all at once, guys, we're in trouble.
I know. I actually think that they are dropping it all at once. Unfortunately, I wish it was week to week. I don't know why they're making the wrong mistake again. But yeah, we got our first look. They announced they showed a lot of different imagery from it. They announced all the studios that were involved. They announced a lot of the people who were working on it and interviewed them and their feelings towards Star Wars and why they're doing what they're doing. They announced the names of all the episodes. So that's one way that we can start to dive into.
How many are there?
What is? I think there's 8, right?
8 or 9.
Just off the top of my head, yeah, something like that.
Is it like standard like 21-minute things, or are they shorts?
Didn't say.
Or?
I don't think they said that. But one thing that they did say and they did state is that
10
episodes. Star Wars Visions is not canon,
which is to me is exciting.
And it's fine, yeah. It's just it's
So
one of those
Jade in it,
things, where they said everything new is this and this. But I actually understand why they're doing this particular thing as a non-canon thing, because they're like, this is like our one opportunity to just let stories be stories, and we're not going to let anybody restrict us back. And I don't think in any way that they're actually backing down from the canon, everything's canon thing. Although there is more to that story as we wrap up our actual talk on Visions, but yeah, non-canon Star Wars stories getting ready to come out. Lacey, Star Wars Visions, thoughts?
I'm pumped about this. I think it looks so cool. They have, I believe, 8 studios, 8 or 9 studios, 8 or 7 studios involved that have done big projects like Kill la Kill, Ghost in the Shell, like big stuff that you guys have definitely seen. It looks sick. Like it looks like something we've never seen before. It looks really cool. There's a couple that I've already been like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it, which is Studio Trigger did The Twins, which is a story of brother and sister relationship inspired by Luke and Leia. One struggles with the dark side. Like, this is something I know we've talked about on the show before. Like, what if Leia went dark? What if Luke went dark? What would that look like? And they do it in the EU, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really, really cool. I think aesthetically, I really like The Ninth Jedi. I think it's so beautiful, which is the story of a time when Jedi were only legends and follows the daughter of a Jedi lightsaber smith. And it just looks like so picturesque, and like it kind of reminds me of like Ghost in the Shell or something with like these beautiful landscapes. I am a little sad that Studio Ghibli is in here just because I'm like such a big fan of them. But I get it that they probably are like, no, we have other stuff to do.
Yeah. They almost seem a little too highbrow for their animation.
What do they do?
Oh, Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke.
Oh, I've heard of Spirited Away, yeah.
Spirited Away is great.
That particular studio is kind of like
the Disney,
the de facto anime. I don't know. They're kind of their own thing.
But look, there is an anime Jabba now. That is in shots, which is, you know me, I love a good Jabba.
And an anime Boba Fett.
Yeah, and Boba Fett. But overall, I think this looks sick. I love that it's not canon because the first thing I think everybody asked was like, is this canon? And as soon as they said no, I felt like there was like a sigh of relief collectively.
From the story group?
From the story group, but also from fans too. Like, I am so pumped that it's not canon because it lets the storytellers do what they want, be creative, like think outside the box. And I think one of the reasons I love all the movies from a studio like Studio Ghibli is that it's nothing you've ever seen before. It's so out there. It's so crazy that it's pushing boundaries on what they find creative or next level or technology. Like, so many things in pop culture have been taken from anime. Like, you can pull so many threads of being like, oh, this came from this and this came from this. And I think that this whole collection is really highlighting those cool people that come up with these outlandish, over-the-top ideas for Star Wars, including like half bunny people, which we've seen in other anime. That I can't wait to watch it. And you know what? If it is all at once, then buckle up because you're going to get like 9 videos in one day because it's happening.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. John, did you have any thoughts on Visions?
I liked the video clip. It felt, in a weird way, it had a freshness to it. And I say weird because it's obvious that it has a freshness to it because it's a style of visual Star Wars storytelling we haven't really encountered. Like the closest thing would be the Galaxy of Adventures, maybe, or a tinge of Star Wars Resistance. Like maybe have borrowed a little bit of like anime style, but I would say I agree completely with the whole, let's not do the canon thing. I think that's cool because if they really wanted to, one day they could in canon they could reference these stories as though they're fables that take place that someone wrote in a galaxy far, far away, so they can like use them that way, which would be kind of fun. But this just makes so much sense because Star Wars, as much as George Lucas, was inspired by Kurosawa, which everyone knows, and that was a huge inspiration for him and how he told his story and even designed a lot of the costumes and the whole samurai element. And Obi-Wan was originally supposed to be an Asian actor, I believe, or that's how he initially designed it. That aside, from just the, hate to say it, the business perspective, Star Wars, for whatever reason, still really struggles in Asian markets. And this is a no-brainer to try to reach that audience and pull people in. I'm not saying it's from a disingenuous place because this is a really cool endeavor. But it just, a lot of it, it just makes such a ton of sense, and I am very excited for it, and I look forward to watching this just without having to worry about how it ties in. Completely agree with what Lacey said there. It just feels like there's no pressure on it from that perspective, from fans too, because we always feel like we need to like, oh, how can we speculate on this? Just like at the top of the show, we're speculating about Hera being in live action. Mm-hmm. None of that matters here. Nothing matters, and I love that aspect of it. It's kind of a palate cleanser, and I like that. So I'm excited to check this out. What did they have a release date? Is it the fall?
September. I believe 21st, 22nd, something like that. Perfect.
That's perfect. Fall kicks in. Good time for that. Still a couple months before Book of Boba Fett. I think it's great. So I agree. I'm looking forward to checking this thing out, and it should be fun.
I will say one thing is that if given the option of it being canon or not canon, I am more bummed that it is not canon.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I feel like I mean, look, I'm cool. I'm very excited about it. I'll talk about that in a second. But oftentimes, like when I read like the myths and fables books and stuff, I'm going through them and I'm going, what's the point of retaining any of this? Because none of this matters. Because somebody could just come along and be like, oh, whatever. That wasn't really canon. That didn't really happen or whatever. And it's just off-putting to me sometimes when I see these really cool things, especially when I'm literally going to be able to like visualize them and see them existing in this world and go, man, that character exists sort of, but on this like weird substrain side timeline, parallel universe or something that doesn't, in a way, like it's kind of like it doesn't matter. Like if you were to say like The Mandalorian is like a great show, but like it doesn't fit in to the real show, and you know, none of the consequences matter or anything like that. I feel like it brings it down a little bit. I like that, and Lacey, you do have a good point, but that you know, it's nice that you can free it up and you can really be creative with that, but also. I think a lot of times some of the things that we've learned from Star Wars is that when you have too much freedom, that can be a problem. And sometimes it's the studio, or it's sometimes like, hey, don't just go buck wild. Here are some restrictions, try to play within this world. And then those things kind of make it Star Wars. But
sure.
That being said, I just wanted to get that out there. Like if given the choice, I wish this was canon, but it's not really going to ruin it for me or anything like that. Or it's not like I'm going to be like, what's the point? I'm not watching this. I'm still going to watch it and love it. I think one of the more interesting aspects for me personally is that all these different stories seem like they're pulling from legends that aren't Star Wars. Like they're almost like old Japanese myths or whatever, and they're like, oh, how can we make that Star Wars? And it kind of makes me feel like the crossover thing. Like, what if we took Gundam and then we made it fit in the Star Wars world? And I'm like, that's cool. I like that. Now Gundams have like lightsabers and stuff. That's sweet. Or what if we took Astro Boy and we made him somehow like a droid? You know, it's like it's the same kind of idea and story and mythology, but we're now kind of retrofitting it and remaking it and reshaping it into something that fits into a Star Wars world or universe of storytelling, and that is very interesting to me. And just alone, like we're looking at the ninth Jedi here, it's like it very clearly looks like samurai, you know, it very clearly looks like these old stories, or maybe you can even stretch like the new Mortal Kombat or whatever they try to play in that like samurai world or whatever. Now just replace all the blades with lightsabers and stuff, and now all of a sudden you're like, what? This is cool, you know? You're like, it just makes it that much more interesting. I feel like I could give examples all day. I keep thinking of like when I said I want the Tron crossover, you know, I want the Tron Star Wars crossover.
They're never not cool. Like wherever they're implemented in any form of pop culture, the Wolverine, the 2013 movie, like there's so many things like they'll just throw samurai in and you're just like, that is freaking cool.
Yeah. Like no, yeah, I'm obviously very interested in this. I just had to say the thing about canon because that was one thing that it's funny. Lacey says like a sigh of relief, and I was like, you know, from not for me, but I get the collective thing. I definitely know that the positive response in fandom, I saw a lot of like it's not canon and that's okay. Like that's a good thing, you know. It definitely had that response to it. I
find that funny for the guy who worries the least about. I'm not worried about what people think. In this way, you are. I find that so funny that you're the one who's more worried about this.
I'm worried about what people think. What do you mean?
Like people not giving it its fair shake because it's not canon and stuff. Like you usually don't care about what other people think in terms of how you absorb stuff.
Oh, no, I'm talking about just my perspective. Like when I was reading those books, I was thinking like, in fact, I think like I gave them a lower score for that reason. Like it wasn't that the stories were bad. I gave them like a 5 because that was like the middle of the ground for me. I was like, I could take it or leave it. I mean, the stories are good, but like there's something about this, like it doesn't really matter, or they could just wipe it away and say, it never really happened. Or, you know, we were just like writing weird stories. And I feel like that kind of made me feel a little bit like what's the point, but I still enjoyed them for what they were. And I think I definitely will enjoy these. I don't know. I like the idea of like the what if stories, and those would obviously not be canon because they didn't happen, you know?
I think part of it for me is I've liked anime for a very, very long time, like my whole life. And I know people's reaction, not currently, I would say, I think it's more mainstream now, but growing up, like if you said you liked anime, you kind of got to look like, why? That's weird. Or if you tell someone to go watch Spirited Away or go watch this movie, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a little weird, right? Or, oh, I don't get it. You know, like they don't.
That was me. I'll admit that. I was like that. I didn't take to it.
And that's fine. But I think for me, the canon aspect removes that kind of pre-Star Wars goggles of like, oh, it has to fit in this box. So therefore, then you can enjoy it and take it in as anime that takes place in Star Wars, not anime that has to fit into a Star Wars box.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good point.
And that's part of the reason why I was like, I understand this project being the thing that they decide to move away from canon more than anything else. Like if you told me you're writing Aftermath series, but that's not canon, I would be like, well, you know, what are we doing here? In this particular case,
the
John's
they
points,
sent in, and they just have notes. They're like, no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, there's just too many things you guys are trying to do that we just can't accept.
Bunny
so
person,
we're almost we're about to just
Right.
let this go. But no, for John's point of view, of like, you know, they're trying to bring in a specific new audience, and this is a way to do that. I understand it from that perspective. And it also is like, I feel like they're trying to tell like a classic story, like, oh, let's tell the story about killing two birds with one stone. It's a very famous myth. We'll make it a Star Wars story. And then for whatever reason, Star Wars doesn't have stones. So it's like, well, whatever. We're just going to let him tell the story. It doesn't make sense in Star Wars, but we can kind of make it and tweak it to be Star Wars, and it will still be really cool. Just, you know, in order for them to really tell their story, we want them to kind of have full reins here. So
it's like Tenchi Muyo in Star Wars, and you're like, I'm on board, yes. And then most people are like, what is that? I don't understand.
What is Tenchi Muyo? Yeah. I was one of those people that was classified as an anime lover.
Hooray, Tenchi Muyo.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was very much like only 4 or 5 shows that I was like really
Attack
into.
on Titan in Star Wars. Hooray.
Hooray.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But also for trying to pull in the Asian market, and maybe people who are just anime fans, wherever they are, it not being canon is less intimidating, because it's like, you don't need to know everything else. You can literally just watch this, because we are too, and just watch it, and that's all you need to worry about. Yeah.
It's very similar to when everything was canon, and then when Disney bought it, they wiped it. You know what I mean? And that was probably infuriating.
Well, it was never canon. I'm just.
True. But like the different levels of canon. But that's kind of what I fear, is like, where we're going to get more stories that are canon to these other non-canon stories, which is kind of what the next little thing is.
Watch heads explode when you see Mara Jade pop up in this thing.
Yeah.
And those people are
exactly.
like, come on!
Yeah, exactly. No, like the other thing with this is that they finally did the cover reveal for Star Wars Ronin, which is a Visions novel. So they're now writing a book based on the canon of these non-canon stories. And I'm like, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to have A canon, B canon, G canon, and all this other stuff, because that just confuses everything. I'm
canon
fine
if
they, yeah, exactly, canon and D. But I don't know. It just like, obviously I think all this stuff is cool. It just, that's the one thing that is hanging me up a little bit on it. Any thoughts on
it just looks classic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like it's one of those things people would want the poster. Like, that's the type of poster you'd like frame and get away with it being in your dining room. Because
absolutely.
It looks like art. It's not like Chewie and Han and Lando or something. It's just like, that looks like art. You take that barcode away, slap a frame on that thing, put it on the wall. People are like, this person's got some taste.
Yeah. If
Joke's on you guys, I have Star Wars all over my house. I have great taste.
Well, but like,
I agree.
I mean, in my normal house, not in a man cave or in the basement.
I take offense to that term, man cave. It's a person cave. Thank you very much.
I also said basement.
It is a basement. That's true.
No, it's like, I think you're right though, John, about the, like, if you put that art up, but like if you took a screenshot from something of this, people would probably just look at it and be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. You know, he's like got some samurai art or something like that. I don't know what that's from. But then you tint their swords like green and blue, and all of a sudden people are like, what is this, Star Wars or something? Like, what am I looking at? This looks so like, this is interesting. Like, all of a sudden it's a conversation piece now. So yeah, there you go. I'm excited for those. Any thoughts on Star Wars Ronin and the cover, and there being like a story beyond, like a long form story beyond the, we don't know, the short film or whatever it is that they're doing with Visions?
I only got so much time, and I've got to review like 10 episodes. So we'll see how I feel after those 10 episodes. How I feel about this book. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
John, would you be interested in a non-canon book?
It depends on how I like the show.
Oh,
if I love the show, then maybe. Because it's one of those things where me, as a person who, I don't like reading Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I'm a visual Star Wars observer. That's how I take my Star Wars. If I knew this was just like this is it, I could get behind that without worrying about like, and then that comic run, and then this book, and then that book predates that book, and then we're releasing 12 more books about that. It's just like, there you go, there it is.
Yeah,
that could be a draw for me.
Well, if anybody is interested in picking up Star Wars Ronin, a Visions novel, it's going to be out October 12th, which is roughly a couple weeks, up to a month after the actual show Visions drops. So pay close attention to that particular episode. And if you like what's going on in it, then, hey, they're going to do some more stories involving those characters.
Because it's coming out, then that means they're probably going to try to do some sort of, like, I would guess, like a New York Comic-Con special edition, which I think I'll be going. So I can pick up a copy if anyone wants it.
Hey, there you go. All right, that's it for the Resistance Report this week. Lacey, we got some other stuff going on. I'm going to send it over to you. What are we doing?
Yep, guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race. So there are lots of ways that you can support us. You can follow us here on YouTube. You can subscribe, comment, etc. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. We are slowly growing there, so thank you guys for following. We appreciate it. Tag us in your stories of watching the episodes and stuff, and we'll share it. If you want more than that, including extra bonus episodes, content, watch-alongs, Discord servers, and much more, you can head over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you support the show and what we're doing here and everything that we're trying to do as we build this community and make more content for you. So this is the part of the show that we let the generals and our spice runners be a part of the show. So first, I'm going to say thank you to them. So thank you to our Patreon generals: Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Jake Houchins, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Haas, Joe Ritchie, sorry, the screen's really far away from me, Darth Hurricane, Timothy Hill, John Jorlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, and Val Trichkov. Thank you guys so much. And then we have our Spice Runners, which is David Probus, NEEL SHAH, Double C Chris, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, and Micah Harrison. Thank you guys so much. And now we're going to head into the pod race with one of our OG generals. It is Carmelo from Espana. And his question was, what character would you want to go on an adventure with in the Star Wars galaxy? Mello, take it away.
Hello guys, and greeting from Espana. I know it's been a while since I've been part of the show, and I've just been extremely busy, but I'm here. And because it's been a while I haven't been part of the show, I would like to cheat with today's question. There's 3 characters I would love to travel around with Star Wars. The first one's going to be Luke Skywalker because he's my boy. And I would like to fly around with him, learning about the ways of the Force. And also I could help him out, with anger management. I am a psychologist, so, whenever he's dealing with little kids having bad thoughts, actually, I probably need to teach that to the whole Skywalker family, but that's a different story for a different day. Also, Ahsoka Tano, because when she goes to Mortis, because, God, I would love to learn about that planet, and with Ezra Bridger, because he goes between the world between worlds, that would be fantastic. Well, that's all I have, guys. Your resistance.
Nice job, Mello. Awesome to see you. As always, we miss you here in the U.S. We hope you are doing well. I laughed at your pod race because you were like, basically everyone in Star Wars has problems. And I was like, yeah, it's accurate. John, what'd you think?
I mean, Mello, he admitted that he cheated a little bit in his answer, but being that he is our longest running general, I will allow it. So, Mello, it was good to see you, buddy. I miss you very, very much. I hope you're going to Celebration. Are you? I think you said you were, but I really hope so because I miss you. But with that said, your picks. Luke, obviously a good one. I do like how you flip the script on him because people usually when they talk about Luke, it's all about, Luke's so great. I love Luke Skywalker.
That's me. He's talking about me.
Mm-hmm. My hero. I love Luke Skywalker. And you're like, I'm going to teach him some anger management. So then I just started thinking, I'm like, it'd be funny if there was like a remake of that movie and you were the Jack Nicholson character and Luke Skywalker was the Adam Sandler character. And that'd be pretty funny. So I loved that. I stopped there. I'll let the other two talk about the other picks but great job. You're allowed to cheat on your answers, Mello. That's cool with me. Viva la Resistance indeed. Miss you. Hope you and the family are well. And once again, great job. And thanks for all your support, man.
James?
Yeah. No, it's funny. Whenever we talk about like anger management, and I don't even remember who submitted the question, I always go back to the one like Ask the Resistance question that we got that was like, will they address Rey's anger issues? And we were like, yeah, maybe. I don't know, whatever. And it's like literally the whole plot of Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, that was great. Whoever it was, please write us and tell us that was you that submitted the question. I forget who it was.
Grandpa.
No, these are great answers, though. I think if I had to agree with one of these, I'd probably go with Ahsoka because I would trust...
Surprise.
My thing is like... my reason, though, is because I feel like I trust her to go on the right missions and get us out safely.
I was just joking because I know you love Ahsoka, so I was like, surprise,
yeah, but both Luke and Ezra, I feel like we'd be like in trouble, and I'd be like, I don't know if this person's gonna get me out of this. I know Luke is, Luke, but we also know Luke is Luke, so
he might also just get up and leave you there and never come back.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I also agree that of all these places, World Between Worlds, that's pretty awesome place to go. But Mortis also kind of has a special place in my heart for some like very cool and special stuff that was happening there. So I don't know. I think I'd go, although Ahsoka died on Mortis, literally died and had to be brought back to life. So I don't know. Maybe Ahsoka's not the best choice. Anyway, thanks for the pod race. You did a great job. Always good seeing you.
All right, now we're going to head to John and head into our open chat.
All right, so I was I mean, I not necessarily Star Wars, because a lot, like in our stream on Friday, we always talk to our patrons in our main chat, and a lot of people who said they couldn't make it to the live show said they were going to the movies and they were going to see Black Widow. And it just had me like thinking like, man, I wonder when I'm going to go back to the movies. Like, what's the movie that's going to get me to go back? And I think I'm going to go see Ghostbusters. I think I'm going to go see
Maverick.
I know I'm going to go see Top Gun. Like, I want to go see it. Like, I think not November, I think. But and I think Ghostbusters might be October. But either way, because I don't know if I'm going to go see Black Widow in the theater. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. Not because I'm worried about going to the theater, because I don't know if I feel like going to see Black Widow, honestly. I feel like it's been too long, but...
You're right. November 19th is Top Gun.
Yep, for Top Gun?
Mm-hmm.
Right in time for turkey. All right.
Right in time for baby. All right.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
What? So you just thought of at least one baby name possibility?
Maverick or Top Gun? Or Tom Cruise?
This is my baby Iceman.
Afterlife said
Maverick, Top Gun, Shay.
This has not been updated.
Ghostbusters was, I think they filmed that movie 12 years ago.
Afterlife is coming out November 11th, so you're doing a double feature.
Oh, the week before.
Yeah.
All right.
So you could skip one movie and do a double feature. You could skip the week.
The double feature.
Can I be honest for a second?
Back to
so
back.
I watched Top Gun last week.
Please don't be honest for a second.
Well, this is kind of cringe not for me.
Be honest for every second.
So on the 4th of July, we watched Top Gun, Matt and I.
Very good.
And he had never seen it.
Who?
Matt had never seen Top Gun.
What?
Yeah. And we bought it a while ago in 4K.
Boom, 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 pop, pop.
Isn't he the action movie guy?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So he let this slide for so long. He had never. So I had brought up Top Gun like conversations and like whatever, and like mentioned stuff and talked about Mission Impossible, because I really do like Tom Cruise. And so we were like deciding what to watch, and we had watched that The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, which was surprisingly good. I
watched it. I liked it.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Why are people saying surprisingly good though? Why?
Because I just assumed it was going to be bad based on some of the trailers.
Yeah.
It just looked like kind of like.
Yeah, it's like being like, oh, Geostorm with whatever, and you're like, it's actually like amazing. Yeah,
so
no,
it's
like surprisingly better than you think.
With low expectations and came out really enjoying myself. I had a really good time watching it. Anyway, after that, we were like, okay, what do we watch next? We watched Top Gun. So I get the 4K, which we had just previously bought, put it in. Matt goes, I've never seen this movie. The look on my face of like, this is a movie I've seen that you haven't. And then Matt said, so is this movie every trope possible? And I said, well, Matt, every trope you're probably thinking of came from this movie. So
yeah,
he said it was okay. And then he made me watch Under Siege with Steven Seagal. So there was that, which was right after Top Gun. And I was like, I'm seeing a theme here.
Good God. I don't like Steven Seagal. I don't like any of his movies. It was
absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The funniest part.
That's amazing to me.
The funniest part is Tommy Lee Jones and him knife fighting for about a minute and a half.
Oh God. Yeah. I saw that movie once, maybe when I was like 15.
Not Star Wars, but if I ever see a knife fight in Star Wars like that, I'm walking out. It was
what was it? There was a video that was like viral that was like, it just said, I hate how Steven Seagal runs or something like that.
Matt brought that up when we were watching.
Yeah.
Well, how does he run?
He runs really funny, like really
like it's like a like thing. This? I don't know.
But like really close in. Like he doesn't
watch it.
Oh God. Well, he's probably got to keep he's probably got a girdle on. He's got to keep that tight. You know what I'm saying? But you just made me think of, Lacey. You said knife fight in Star Wars. What? How come we haven't seen like mini lightsabers, like knives?
Well, people just Ahsoka has a smaller one.
I'm talking like
a dagger.
No, like even just like the switchblades. Just a little guy, little pocket knife, and then you just get like.
I don't know.
Like, I guess it is kind of surprising that in the Star Wars world, I mean, it's not like something sharp wouldn't still hurt somebody. So at some point, like if you get into a fist fight between like, you know, Poe and a stormtrooper or something like that, he
all you gotta do is take a kyber crystal, put it in betwing your fingers, and just
do.
I feel like it's just too violent or something when you're showing like. I understand you're running somebody through with a lightsaber, but I feel like if you're actually like stabbing with a knife, it's too real or something.
Well, Under Siege, he stabs him through the top of the head. So spoiler alert, it is pretty violent.
Yeah. Anakin, what do you mean too real? Like Anakin Skywalker. It's the same as like there can be blood as long as it's green. You don't have to see the blood.
Oil or something.
Say there's we've seen prisons in Star Wars. I want to see someone get shanked with a little mini lightsaber that gets passed to them through their dictionary.
I'd love to see a Star Wars movie with a happy ending. Oh wait, we've only gotten one, and it's Return of the Jedi.
A New Hope has a happy ending.
Phantom Menace has a happy ending.
Phantom Menace.
Oh, that's true.
Ending.
Maybe that's why.
Attack of the Clones.
Maybe that's why.
It's a wedding.
No.
Attack of the Clones is both because they're like, we don't know what's going on. The Clone Wars have begun.
They're in love, and
but also
it's gonna go so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, none of. Well, I'll say. I would say Rise of Skywalker had a happy ending. I think Rey found her family. For me, I don't know. I liked seeing Rey finally find her place.
Did it though? Everyone dies.
Darth Vader dies at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
but
he could have been saved, but he died.
That's
instead.
Different though. Leia
Darth Vader,
Anakin
dies. Gave up the will to live, just like his wife. All right, I think we're done. No, that was fun. I'm very upset at Matt, so we're gonna have to have a discussion. But because I don't know that it's weird. Like there are people out there that have never seen Top Gun. That blows my mind.
I'm telling you, there was a good 45 seconds of me just silently being like, when he told me that, I was like, wait, what?
By the way,
how
did he
react?
know?
Hold on, this is important. How to react to Goose dying?
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry, James.
What did he not know about the movie that was like something everybody knows, or did he know it all?
He said, "quote I felt nothing when that guy died."
All right, that's.
He said this movie doesn't make me care about any of the characters, and they clearly spent the whole budget on the fighter pilots and not any of the music or anything else. And I was like, well, that is
not the music.
Why? Okay, here's my question. Why is everybody so sweaty all the time? Like the scene where he's in the elevator with her and he's got a towel around his neck and he's dripping with sweat. Why not just take the towel and wipe your face? Go back and watch it. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous.
I like to think
his undercarriage towel.
I like to think that the military doesn't pay for air conditioning.
Someone actually tweeted me that because I said, why is everyone so sweaty? And they said, because the Reagan administration didn't have AC in the barracks.
Oh
like they went like full history on me. And I was like,
can we not politicize Top Gun, please, folks?
I
think he was saying it not like in a like.
Yeah, I remember visiting my brother and stuff when he was in like boot camp and all this, and I was just like, it felt like camping, you know. So you're like out there, and it's just like hot constantly, and you can't escape it. So when I think of military stuff, like Top Gun and them all being like sweaty, or them all like even when he goes back to her house or whatever, and they're like meeting up or whatever, like. It feels like there's a fan on, but like she doesn't have air conditioning in her house. No. It just feels like it's just hot and the windows are open.
She's never sweating, but everybody else is.
Wow.
And she's wearing like sweaters and stuff. It just seems a little weird. And then like in the meetings, they're always just staring at each other. Like they're just staring.
Everybody has gum, whether they like it or not. Like.
Yeah, who chews gum like Val Kilmer, man?
I love that this just turned into everything that's weird about. Because literally, go back. It's literally just staring.
I don't like you because you're dangerous.
Just staring at each other all the time, sweaty and staring.
Maybe we do a one-off podcast on Top Gun for Patreon. But anyway. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. Like Lacey said before, all those places, please join us. But also your podcast feeds, audio podcast feeds. Pick your poison, folks. Spotify's mine. A lot of people like Apple. SoundCloud, we're big over there. Whatever you like, it's free. 2 episodes a week, sometimes some extra stuff. But be sure to subscribe, and more importantly, share with a friend. Spread the word, because that's how we grow, and we appreciate it. Make sure you're also going to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. As events pick up and stuff like that, we'll do coverage there as well. Try to bring people into the Star Wars Celebration experience next year if you can't go. All that good stuff, StarWarsNewsNet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And tomorrow, putting out an episode on Wayne's World on my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. So go check us out again anywhere you like your podcasts. Lacey, let's go to you. Where are you at?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran.
James.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks, and as always on the Bad Batch Reaction Show every Friday.
Oh,
Excellent.
And I'm interviewing Hasbro this week at some point. Forgot about that. Sorry. That's not a brag.
Just forgot.
That's not a brag. That's literally like, I feel terrible for forgetting. Later this week.
Are you going to continue to ask them about the Force Effects Ray lightsaber, or now that you have one from Galaxy's Edge?
I've actually only asked them about that once. That has happened one time. I've asked once. I'm not the person that keeps asking. No, I'm not going to keep asking them about it. I've asked them once and they said no, and then they have rules.
Yeah. I'm sure the Dave Filoni thing is going to be a big talking point.
I really want to ask them certain questions, but I don't want to say them out loud because I don't want other people to take my questions.
Smart. I like your style.
Yeah.
I like the cut of your jib.
What?
It's a phrase. Look it up.
That is not a phrase. What is it?
Cut of your jib is a phrase.
What does it mean?
I like your style. I like how you operate.
What does jib mean?
I don't know what a jib is, but it's obviously a piece of.
I'm asking
I like what you
John.
got.
John, what's a jib? What's a cut of a jib?
Well,
it's a phrase.
You can't use phrases if you don't know what they mean.
It's one of those things
true.
like,
no.
What does this mean?
James,
it's
I
like
wasn't
when you
saying
say
that you can't say that. I appreciate your explanation. I'm asking John because he's the one that used it so casually in a conversational way. What is a jib?
It's like someone's appearance or
Did you
style.
just Google it? Because I saw the screen light up your face when you.
I'm googling it
it's
now.
a sail. Is it a sail?
Yeah, it looks like
sail.
it's some sort of nautical term.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a phrase. So, thank you to everybody. We will be back on Thursday with another episode. We're gonna. It's our discussion episode. You know what we do here. So enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you Thursday morning with another episode right here on TRB. We'll see you around, kids.